Time for the Power to Connect with Angela Ray.
Can you tell us a little bit about just about the history there and, just the history there of how the country was birthed?
South Sudan, yes. A long, it's a story of, I guess, revolution, etc. Depending on how far back you go, but let's say go back to 1983. It was one country at the time known as Sudan, as people know. The government at the time imposed Sharia law on the entire country. And there had been a history of marginalization and so on before. Prior to 1956, the country was administered by the British via the Egyptians. And so when Sudan gained its independence in 1956, excuse me, the southern region, which is now South Sudan, which was almost intentionally marginalized, predominantly African, Black African, etc., and the northern region, which is now Sudan, they were reunited after having been governed separately, and that caused a bit of problems. Then, obviously, spilled over many years. Of course, Sudan, as the country was forming itself, as countries do. I think if you put it in context, the Civil War. I'm not a great historian. The Civil War was for 18 something. 50, 60. The U.S. declared its independence 1776. So that's 7 years after the country declared its independence, it still fought a civil war. So I think these are normal, unfortunate growing pains of nation building and so on. It's not that people are barbaric and and as the picture sometimes is often painted.
Which that gets annoying.
Yes.
Can I just say that? That's why I want to talk to somebody like you, because I don't know.
Right. And everybody, everyone's gone through it, these sorts of things. But anyway, as we were saying, so that period where it was governed as Sudan, there was obviously marginalization of the South in many ways, economically, culturally, etc. But the real breaking point, you could say, was 1983 when they imposed Sharia law on the whole country, and that was too much because the South is predominantly Black African, Christian, traditional religion, etc. And please, if this interview goes online and there's some things where I'm paraphrasing and people obviously want to jump in, feel free, because I'm trying to paraphrase, and it's sometimes not fair when you're talking about people's history to sort of paraphrase it.
That's solid.
That's what we're doing for the.
I appreciate that. That's super solid. Yes. Can you just for a second explain to people what Sharia law is?
So that's the law of the Quran, basically. So that's the law that's imposed in Saudi Arabia. A lot of Islamic Arab countries have that, where basically the law of the religion is the law of the land. And so that obviously in a population where there are a lot of Christians and traditional religions and cultures, etc., that obviously didn't go down well. And so a man by the name of John Garang and others in 1983 led a rebellion under what was called the SPLM, the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. And they formed a rebellion. They rebelled against the North, fought a long civil war, and eventually in 2011 gained their independence. Along the way, unfortunately, there was a split in that. Along the way to independence in 2011, there was a split in that rebellion, which manifested itself in 2013 in the civil war in South Sudan between Vice President Riek Machar and the President Salva Kiir. And the purpose of the UN, what we're doing here now, is to try to support the peace deal that they signed in first 2015, and then they re-signed it 2018. So essentially our work involves trying to support them to obviously implement that peace agreement, and then, of course, do what we can do to help develop a nation, in short, develop and build a nation, but without impeding on the sovereignty of the nation. I think that's what a lot of people get mixed up. The UN can't act as the government. It can support the government, but it cannot come into a country and act as a government.
Don't forget to subscribe to The Power to Connect with Angela Ray and follow her on Facebook. You can also stay connected on Twitter and Instagram at angelaray.com.